So you want to collect Disney pins, you want to get real ones, but you don't want to end up with a whole bunch of fakes and scrappers. How do you know if a pin is real or not? Well, let me show you a few of my pins, and hopefully we can help you learn some of the differences. So one of the huge issues with collecting Disney pins is there are a lot of fake pins, imitations, and what we call scrappers. Personally, I don't like the word scrapper because it implies something that it's not. They use the word scrapper for fakes many times. But if you're shopping for cheap Disney pins, especially if you want traders in the parks and stuff, you may be tempted to go online. You see Amazon and eBay have huge bulk lots of pins for like $1 each or less. You go to the flea markets. We've got one here in Branson that sells Disney pins. How do you tell if they're real or fake? So I'll give you one hint. Those big bulk lots, they're all fakes. Okay? If you're buying $1 or less a pin in a big bulk lot, it's fake. I can pretty much promise you that. But maybe you're seeing them for $2 or $3 a pin, and so now you're starting to wonder a little bit. Let me show you a couple pins I bought recently and how you can know. So I got these. Now, I actually bought these at the Disney outlet store here in Branson, so I know that they are real. But this pin, I have actually seen some people claim that they're being copied already. So the fact I bought it at the Disney store and it has its price tag on it helps verify it's real. Any pin that you buy at Disney, whether in the parks, the Disney store online, the Disney store, they are real pins, okay? You don't have to worry about that. But the ones on the cast lanyards may or may not be real. So I've actually got a whole board here. These are actually all fake pins. Every single one of them. And I do actually have a couple in my binders. But let me show you a couple of these so that way you can kind of see the difference between them and a real pin. So one of the very first things to look for with a fake pin is the way that the paint is done on the pin. And I'm going to pull a couple of these off so you can see what I mean. And try and show you. So if you look close at this pin, you know, at first glance it looks okay. And then if you look closer at it, and there we go, you can see that the paint in it dips. In particular, that big black section, you can actually see the paint dipping on it down inside. This is another good example of the paint dipping. And there you go. You can see how that paint is not level. So a real Disney pin, such as this one, if you'll notice, it's smooth. Absolutely smooth. You can feel the metal edging in it, but the paint does not dip. So it's polished to a nice smooth surface. So that's the first sign. If you see that paint dipping down in it, it's going to be a fake. Another thing that you will notice is the weight of the pins. Generally, your fake pins are a much lighter metal. You can actually see how thick that pin is versus this one. Yeah, there's a pretty good difference there in the thickness and in the type of metal. So this is a much thicker pin. This is actually a pretty typical thickness for Disney pins. So again, fake. Other things that you will notice is that the coloring is off. I don't know about you, but Belle's got a weird looking tan on that one. If you see coloring that just looks strange, it's almost surely going to be a fake. If you see a pin that isn't clear, that's just kind of muddy looking, like this one, there you go. It's just, you know, it's got these really weird looking eyes, and it's just kind of muddy and blurry. That's going to be a fake as well. If you pull a pin off a lanyard at Disney and you notice it's an old pin, okay, it's going to be fake. It just is. You're not going to find old pins on cast lanyards at Disney unless they've been bought in these bulk lots and they're fakes. The coloring, though, how do you know if coloring is real? So, for example, I've got this pin, which looks great. It's a pretty good looking pin. So how do you know? Well, then you can go to a website called PinPix. PinPix is probably the best database. There are others out there. I also use Pin and Pop because they do online trading and stuff. I love Pin and Pop. And you look up the pin. So in this case, you would look up the C-Ticket Mickey, and you'll realize that their picture is a completely different color. I mean, totally different. Oh, wait, mine's black. Theirs is, I think it's orange. What happened? The orange is the real one. That is not. So, neat looking pin, wrong color, it's a fake. So, that's your quick, easy, kind of dirty ways to tell. Is the coloring is wrong. It's really wrong. It's ugly and blurry. It's not painted right, or they are very light. One other thing that you will see a lot online is that they're magnetic. Now, not all fakes are magnetic, but a lot of them are. It's good if you have a strong magnet because it helps. But like I said, I'll use this one again. This is just one of my fridge magnets, Rocket Raccoon. So I'm going to hold the pin here in my hand, and you will see that as I come down, lo and behold, that pin's magnetic. Real, authentic Disney pins are not magnetic. Now, that's only going to work on probably about 20% of the fakes. So you can't go around with just a magnet and pop and go, oh, okay, it didn't attach to the magnet, it must be a real pin. So, you know, my bell here, which is very obviously off. That one is. There you go. The e-ticket. That one's not. And see, this pin's interesting because it is actually a thicker pin. And it's smooth. You would almost think that this was a legit Disney pin. Except for the fact that Belle looks weird. But in this case, that definitely helps prove that it's not. Here's another one that's really interesting. So, and again, the clarity. Disney pins are really clear. Snow White just looks kind of weird there. And again, thinner metal, lighter metal. You can take a real pin. You can take the two identical pins and weigh them, and you'll feel the difference. The fakes are just very light and thin. And again, magnet. The magnet test does catch a lot, especially of the cheaper ones. It will definitely pick up a lot of those for you. Other things to be aware of, especially with newer pins, is you'll see when I drop it, hopefully don't stab myself, on the back is the waffling pattern. And they'll have different styles. It's generally clear and crisp. You'll see some people tell you that, well, if it doesn't go all the way to the edges, there are legit Disney pins that the waffling does not go to the edges. That's not a great test of it. But it is clear. You can see it clearly there. And in fact, the stamp on the back is a great place to figure out if a pin is real or not. So you can see, there it is, the Disney Pin Trading logo. The new pins now have a ID number on there. Fake pins, and again, we'll pull this guy up again. You can look at their stamps and you notice that they're not clear, they're misaligned, there's misspellings, or you run into things like, you know, our fairy tale Snow White. If you look at the back of that one, you'll see that these things actually all run into each other. The pin trading logo is running up into the other stamp. They're not separate and detailed and defined like they would be on a real pin. So again, that is a great marker. If it looks muddy, it's not good. Now, your old pins are going to have a clear pattern like that. They won't have the waffling. That's not a sign it's a legit pin or not. Again, if you go back 6-7 years or so, all the pins will look more like this. They don't have the waffling design. But again, you're not going to find those in lanyards. All of the big bulk lots you find, they're pretty much all going to have that kind of a back because they're copies of older pins. You are not going to find a legitimate pin with that kind of a back on a cast lanyard. What you are going to find when you go to Disney, though, is that the cast lanyards are filled with these fakes. It's actually hard to find real pins on cast lanyards because they've had so many people buy these bulk lots for cheap traders, you know, and you end up with these ugly looking pins. Or again, I mean, I love this pin, but it's cheap metal, and again, the paint is dipping down in it. So how do you tell? When you see all these pins on the lanyards, ask the cast member one if you can actually hold the pin, touch the pin, that will help. But be aware, most of what you're going to find is going to be fakes out there. There are current Trader series. Look online, see what Disney's newest lanyard series pins are. If you see those on a lanyard, it's going to be real. If you see pins from current mystery packs, look for the box sets, the ones that you have 3 or 5 pins in them, and they're all part of a series. If you see those on sale, and then you see those pins on lanyards, those will probably be real. But if you're just seeing this hodgepodge of older pins, they're not. I hope that helps a little bit. There are some other tips and tricks to be able to figure out if a pin is real or not. But those are your big ones. The weight of the pin, the paint quality, the printing on the back, if it's magnetic or not, the coloring, check the original coloring. Those will all give you a really good idea if it's a legitimate pin or not. And look for legitimate pin sellers. Pinderella is a great one online. She does have a website as well. Tell her Sir Willow sent you. The Disney stores, if you've got a Disney outlet near you. Okay, so Disney outlets get me in trouble because this is from my latest trip to the Disney Branson outlet. That was $100 for 21 pins? 22 pins. You can get some great deals. In Orlando, you actually have the Character Warehouse, which is official Disney clearance stores. Look for things like that where you know they're legitimate pins. If you see them on a rack in bulk, and this is true at the one flea market I won't mention here in Branson, but you go up and it's a wall full of Disney pins, and they're all in these individual little baggies. That's straight from the fake manufacturer. It's a quick, clear hallmark that this is a fake pin. If they're selling the pins for less than $1, they're almost guaranteed to be fake. If they're selling them cheaper than other pins, generally a real pin is going to run you at least $2 to $3. And that's buying them individually. If you're buying bulk, if you're buying a big collection, you better expect to pay some good money for them. But you can find some great pins at these outlet stores. You can find limited edition pins for sale. You can find Marvel pins. And this is all just straight from the Disney outlet. So you will find all sorts of things if you know where to go. So don't hesitate. Go to the Disney clearance outlets if they're near you. Shop online. Look for legitimate sellers. Don't buy the bulk lots. But look at the Disney pin groups on Reddit or on Facebook or other groups where people do this on a regular basis. And that will be a big deal. And if you want to trade pins in a safe way online, I encourage you, go check out Pin and Pop, because they actually have a pin verification system where you send your pin to the actual people who run the website, and they verify your pin is real, they verify the pin being sent to you is real, and then they are the ones who send it. They work as a broker in between, which keeps you safe and protected. I love them. Been using them now for about a year, thanks to Pinderella. So check them out. If you got more questions about pins, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. Post them in the comments below. Love to hear, what's your favorite pin? What's your least favorite pin? When did you get stuck by a fake? I'd love to hear it. Be sure to check the comments below too. There's all sorts of information there. Thank you so incredibly much to my patrons as well. Yeah, this is getting ready for my big patron trip to the D23 Expo, so there are traders here. So yeah, thank you patrons for helping make stuff like this possible. And they get all sorts of perks and benefits. They get to see behind the scenes. They get to see my studio as it's getting built, and so much more. If you want to know more about that, be sure to check the description below. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. God bless. And if you're shopping for cheap pins, you'll hear my dog running around like crazy because she's a goop. What are you doing? Sit! Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind the scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.